What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? We just saw a hell of a Super Bowl. What we wanted. How you doing, Caleb?
Doing good, man. How are you doing?
I'm happy, bro. I'm
I'm
very
happy
happy
too.
actually.
I don't have to
You
hear
know?
all season Joe Burrow's better than Mahomes. I don't
Yeah,
have to hear it now. Thank
yeah,
God.
yeah. Kind of proved a lot of things during that game, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So, they got away with some more shit today. I mean, no matter how you look at it, they got away with more. Face mask, holding, uh one after another, but you know what? It is what it is. We're a different football team than we were last year, and we're going to be a better football team than we were this year
Yep.
after this season ends. So, Chris Jones just posted we will be back there next year, and
Oh,
he's
they
right. We
will be
will be.
back.
Yeah,
They will be back.
guarantee it. So, um, hats off to Matthew Stafford. Hats off to Aaron Donald. He should be
Dude.
MVP. He should be
I wonder
MVP.
who I wonder who they're gonna give it to. You could make a case for Matthew Stafford, um Cooper
Cooper Cup.
Cup,
Oh yeah,
or Aaron Donald. You could really
all
make a
three.
case for them.
Yeah, they all three deserve it. I mean, they all played their hearts out. And honestly, I feel bad for OBJ. I mean, another torn ACL
Oh,
and
actually, Cup won the MVP.
Cup did.
Cooper Cup just won it.
Oh, good.
Hey, he's good. He's good. I mean,
He's
it could have
damn
been any
good.
one of them three guys.
Yeah, I mean, he took a beating there at the end when he was, making every reception, body slams and just
Oh.
everything. He just got
Oh, I
hurt.
thought he got concussion. I'm pretty sure he had a slight concussion.
He might have. He might have. I mean, he got hit pretty hard a few times, and when Burrow went down, and that was the same leg. I thought, oh man, they just jacked his knee up again. But he came back out.
Mm-hmm.
I got, I mean, unless he was just faking it to try to get sympathy, I don't know. But he ain't gonna get it from nobody around anywhere else besides Cincinnati. I don't feel sorry for that man walking in dress. Dude, he had the pimp hat on today when he walked into the Super Bowl. The
Joe
one that
Bro, hey, I like Joe Bro. He got that swag. He knows what he's
dude,
doing.
the swag he's got is too much. He's going too far with it. I mean, look, the swag is.
He's doing what Cam does, man.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna tell you right now, swag is Travis Kelce. He knows how to dress. He's got his clothing line. He knows what he's doing. Mahomes, he knows how to look good without being like overboard. And then you got this kid that comes out of nowhere, his first year actually really playing, without injury anyway, and then acts like he's a
Hey man,
five-time
that's
Super Bowl
what
winner.
that's what I'm saying. We don't have to hear it all off season. We do not have to hear it. We don't, which is a good thing because I was not one to hear all that.
Oh no.
So all them, especially them Bengals fans, after our spaces out one day, want to come there and talk. I bet they're really sitting to them, trying to figure out what they're doing right now.
Guarantee it.
But right now, McCole, he's going after Eli Apple.
Oh,
he
yeah,
showed a picture of his Super Bowl ring saying, Eli Apple, it's cool, big bro. You might get one of these one day, but in the meantime, just go get better at your craft peace sign.
I love him, man.
Oh, man, McCole's funny.
He is, man. He is. He cracks me up. Oh, that's good times. Oh, man. I gotta grab my stuff so I could see what he's doing because I had to laugh.
McCole is getting Tyreek went after him, and then McCole. It's funny, bro.
Oh, good times.
Hey, man, this is a good game, but there's some free agents on this team. The Rams, especially, I don't know if they're gonna sign because rumors is that Aaron Donald, if they win, he'll retire. Sean McVay might retire there this year.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. I mean, there's a whole list of players that could possibly. One is Von Miller. What are your thoughts on him? Do you think that you should go after him in free agency? Because it looks like Odell Bell tore his ACL, so he's done from that standpoint.
Yeah, he tore it. I don't think, honestly, I mean, if that team's going to dismantle to a degree, they do it every 4 or 5 years, especially under McVay. They've put all their chips in one to get to the Super Bowl, and they did it. They won it, but if McVay decides to retire, which I did hear that was a possibility that he might, wants to spend time, I guess he's getting married, and he may have already. I don't think he's gotten married yet, but
Vaughn?
Huh?
Von Miller? You getting married?
No. I'm talking about Sean McVay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. And wants to spend time with his kids, and and if he does decide to retire for a couple of years, he's only 36. That gives him plenty of time to come back if he wanted to come back later on, and coach again. He can easily do that. I think, in my opinion, Cincinnati is a dirty football team. They proved that again today. And, karma's a mother. It comes back after you sometimes, and it came back after him today.
There's just how do I say this? With all due respect, the Bengals got through the playoffs because of some cheap calls that went their way. Yeah. It happened in every game they went into. I'm just being honest. That's what happened. But you know what? That is what it is. They're a good team. I want to have them opening night, possibly maybe that opening weekend. But what I'm ready for is to see what can the Chiefs do to make their team a lot better. Because we see, man, as I told you earlier, bro, I want that type of defensive line on the Chiefs that the Rams have. We need that type of defensive line with urgency. That's what the Chiefs need.
Yeah. We need that defensive line. I mean,
we need that. Seriously.
Yeah. I'm not saying, look, we got a couple of pieces, but we need
the dominant package.
We need the dominant package. And I think that's what you're going to see us go after this year. I think it's going to be a somewhat of a makeover. I keep hearing different things about Frank Clark and I know Jaron Reed's done for.
That move's over with.
Yeah, so I think it's going to end up just being it's going to be a makeover, kind of like we did with the offensive line. And look, man, once that's fixed, there's so many ways. We talked about this on Spaces, but there's so many ways we can grab up to like 80 million in cap space just by, moving some money around, especially the way these contracts are structured, and extending a couple players, Tyreek Hill, Tyrann Mathieu, extend those two guys, you automatically pick up a ton of money right there.
Same thing with Chris Jones, maybe a couple other players. Mahomes, maybe he'll move some money around.
Yeah. I mean,
that'd be awesome.
Yeah. So there's just so many ways, you get rid of Sorensen, you get rid of
Demarcus Robinson,
which is not a huge cap hit, but
the thing is, they signed to $4 million deal or $2 million. We can use that for something else.
Yeah. It could go in a lot of places. It all adds up, I guess, when you really look at it. When you listen to some of these guys that are on Twitter that say, oh, well, it's only 600,000 or it's only $1 million. Well, you got 4 or 5 players like that. It adds up. So every little bit adds up to the cap that we need. And we're not in a bad cap position. We're not going to be, for everybody out there that thinks we are, we're going to be just fine this year. The cap went up. We got the way we structured everything. We're in phenomenal spot. We got all the room in the world to sign free agents and also go through the draft and just build upon what we have. And something we mentioned on Spaces, and this is what I want to reiterate to everybody. Everybody says get rid of the entire defense and start fresh. That's what puts you in a hole. Every team that does that, when they fire sale, they put themselves in a hole, because if you have players that understand the defense and you have players that are still valuable players, keep those players. Get rid of the players that aren't doing you any good. Move around the pieces, bring in pieces that will fit within that same system, but keep the guys like Travarius Ward and, who else is a free agent on the defense right now?
Matthew's going to be a free agent.
Matthew.
Who else? Let me check the list I have.
Melvin Ingram.
Melvin Ingram's going to be one. Another one's going to be Blake Bell, Austin Blythe, Orlando Brown, big one right there. Mike Hughes, Jerick McKinnon, Dorian Daniel, Derek Nottie, Jaron Reed, Byron Pringle. I don't see him going anywhere. Demarcus Robinson, Travarius Ward, Armani Watts, Darrell Williams. So there's some really big name guys there.
Yeah. So you got to keep the guys that are going to benefit, that know your system. And you always need that depth. Your Armani Wattses, those guys I would keep, because in the long run, they know the system. They can step in when needed. They're great on special teams. And of course, we've seen that special teams can kill you. We don't have to worry about that as much. But you keep those low-paid guys that know the system well, and then you extend Charvarius Ward, one of the most consistent CBs in the league. You extend Tyrann Mathieu, 5th best top 5 safety in the league, no matter what people think of him this year. We have the pieces. We need to add to those pieces. And when we get to that point, get rid of Sorensen.
His time is done.
He's done.
That guy's tie is done.
Yeah. Those are the things you have to do, but you have to build that defensive line now. We got corners in we got one of the better cornerback rooms, less Mike Hughes in the league. When you really look at our cornerback room, we got great corners. You know, when you got, and Baker, isn't he a free agent this year?
No, because we signed like we played him third round money, but he got like a 3 or 4 year deal, I think.
Okay, well, good.
I think it's something to that extent.
Well, they got to hang on to those guys because they have proven what they can do. You know, you got Snead, you got Ward, you got Fenton, all the just a plethora of great corners, and we don't need Sorensen. We don't need him as a safety. We don't really need Mike Hughes unless you want to put him on special teams and returning punts. I mean, that's really all. I wouldn't keep him for a corner position. But, you know, we got Josh Jackson waiting in the wings.
Yep.
Another great player. Wide receiver wise, we got Omar Bayless sitting there waiting. I mean, dude's a beast.
Yep, that's true. Another great guy waiting.
Yeah, we got a lot of futures deals that we got to see, you know, and out of all those futures deals, you may sign 3, maybe 4 if you're lucky. But regardless, that's 3 or 4 people that we're signing to minimal contracts that can give us a lot of potential and bring us where we need to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even with Josh Gordon, you know, give him an off season, let him learn, let him practice with the team in a full off season and see how well he does next year. You know, it's that simple. You just don't let somebody like him go because he's too intelligent and he can be too explosive if you give him the time to learn. And he didn't have that this year. And we talked about it numerous times, you know, what happened to him, but it is what it is. Give the guy a chance. You know, we got some explosive players on our team and we got some guys that won't be here next year. There's no doubt. We got 24 free agents, I think it is. And we're probably going to retain maybe 12, 13, you know, maybe. So it is what it is. I think D-Rob's done. I think, I know Jaron Reed's done. Sorensen's gone. Mike Hughes, I believe, is gone. You know, so, but Veach also, we've talked about this. Oh, hold,
what's up?
Thizz is calling. He think he wants to jump on the show with us. Anyway, we have a group of guys that we can build off of, and that's what Veach has been doing. He's been building, stacking these low cost, high end players like a Nick Bolton. Look at the draft. Just look at the draft. And what he's doing right now, I know for a fact, is he's looking into free agency because there's a lot of 25, 24, 25, 26-year-old players out there that didn't really fit within their system, but are great players that we can bring in. 2 wide receivers I know of is on his wish list, actually 3. And there's 2 defensive players on his wish list that he's really wanting to bring in. I would pray that Von Miller came in for a year or 2 because he's extremely, he's actually was very adamant about ready to explore free agency.
Go ahead.
He has said numerous times he wants to play for the Chiefs. He wants to play where his idol came from, and his idol is
DT. I tried telling Broncos saying he's in all no, that's not gonna happen. Like, right, man, we'll see what happens. But let me tell you this, JP. If we could somehow get Von Miller, and I don't know what the Chiefs will have to pay him, but if we could get him and then get some other guys in the rotation, it's going to be so beneficial. But that's one thing. They have to get pass rush. I believe they can do both. They can get a good receiver, wide receiver 2, and get pass rush. If they can do that, that's going to be fantastic. The Chiefs will be in a good spot.
Guarantee it. You know, and you got to get them early. That way they have an off season to learn and, you know, practice from starting day one, really, and get that playbook in their hands so they can start, you know, getting acclimated. That's something that, Josh Gordon didn't get. He didn't get that opportunity, but now he does because he's on our practice squad. He'll be able to learn. And if he is able to step up, great. I'm happy. McCole Hardman stepped up this year. He's just going to get better next year is what it is. Tyreek is Tyreek. You know how great he is. I did hear somebody say today that Kelsey's getting up there in age. One of the commentators said that, and I guess they said it because of his injuries this year because he's still well over 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns. So I don't know where they came up with the idea that he's slowing down, other than maybe because of his little bit of an injury. If anything, he's just tuning himself in, to be better. I mean, it
I see what
just,
you're coming from.
yeah, I don't think he's slowing down in any way. What's your opinion on that?
I think, man, if the way Vaughn just played tonight, bro, if they could get him in free agency for a good deal, dude, I'm telling you now, JP, that would be awesome. But the issue is we need multiple guys that can help.
Yeah.
We really got to revamp. And that's one thing Charles and I have been looking at the draft, been kind of saying, all right, who can we get in the draft that's going to help us? We've been looking at pass rusher, also in the free agency, really haven't got anything that. But there's some players that Charles and I have been looking at. There's a couple ones under the radar that JP we were telling you about earlier.
Yeah.
Especially that one guy out of that one college. I'm telling you, man, that guy has reach written all over if something can happen. So I would be very, very happy if something like that could happen, but I don't know what's going to happen, man. It's going to be a bunch of craziness.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's going to be a great offseason for us. We're going to bring in players that people are, and I know of some that, especially in the wide receiver position, that's on the wish list that they really want and they want to bring in. And if they bring them in, I would feel sorry for anybody. They fixed that defensive line, which I know there's a couple D players that they're looking at. They fixed that issue. Oh Lord. I mean,
a lot of stuff can change.
Oh God, it's just a few little things too, dude. And then, of course, with the coaching fixes internally, once that's done with, you have happy players again. And I never thought I'd see unhappy players with the Chiefs, but we've had them. And what we've been talking about all year long is now all over the national media.
I mean, we might as well just give a synopsis now, JP. Go ahead and spit it.
Okay, well, I mean, Eric Bieniemy is a cancer. I'm just going to say it. People can, it's maybe an unpopular opinion for people that don't understand the situation, but he's been a problem all year. And he was a problem in the AFC Championship game. He caused a big riff in the locker room at halftime. Not the first time he's done this. And he's had arguments with Mahomes, which Mahomes argues with no one ever. It's come down to the fact that the players just don't want to play for him. And if you want to blame anyone for the second half of the AFC Championship game, stop blaming Mahomes. You could put a little bit of blame on him, maybe for going with the game plan that Bieniemy spit out. But that second half was EB calling plays.
But I do have to say, JP, it's on the whole team. And the reason why is because they didn't do anything to get out of those bad play calls. I know it's different from what you're saying. EB was most like the problem, but what I'm seeing too is also that Mahomes could have played better, Tyreek could have played better, McCole, they should have been able to band together and figure it out. But you know what? It is what it is at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I mean, they got to rebuild. That's kind of what they got to do.
Well, they just have to put some pieces in the places that they need them. And they're going to do that. I mean, Veach is very good at filling spots of need. He's done it for the last 2 years. And you can only, everybody expects it to happen all in the same season. That's impossible.
That is true.
You can't do that. If you do, then you might as well kiss any window of opportunity goodbye. And right now, I've talked to some people that say we have 4 more years of a window. I've talked to other people that, that think we have, like I do, a good 10 years of a window. As long as you have Mahomes and you have Andy Reid or someone that is, I guess trained under Andy Reid that can come in when he decides to call it quits and take the team over and do what he's done, you got an opportunity. And with Mahomes maturing the way he has and learning the system the way he has, he can only help another coach. If Andy Reid, because from what I understand, he's going to stay another 2 years minimum. 2 more years. That's a minimum. So his contract's for another 5, I think. So if he stays the entire 5 years, which I know he wants to because of Mahomes, then that's great. But getting back to that EB situation, I mean, I'm sorry, but it is what it is. And people that don't like it,
it's been kind
happened.
of proven, and what we see, unfortunately, is that from what you're saying, there was a lot of problems. I mean, you went kind of more detail earlier, but what we saw is that bad plays were called to prove a point. And I understand from what you're saying, understand from the perspective why Andy did that. But my viewpoint is this. The Chiefs could have beat the Rams tonight if they would have stuck to the game plan, did everything. Andy would have stuck to the game plan, would have did everything he would have supposed to do that same point. The Chiefs would have probably won this game. But it's either here or there. But I would say is that moving forward, anytime you have an issue like that coming, you got to stop it quickly. And that's something Andy. I know he's very loyal, and I understand his thought process and everything. But it's come to a point where you could have made to a 3rd straight Super Bowl.
Yeah,
win 3 straight AC championship games. But you know what, man? I mean, it is what it is. But this is probably what the Chiefs do in order to retool and be good for another couple years. Because every year they're tweaking something. And I think this is the last kind of bit they have to tweak would be that defensive line and getting a wide receiver too.
Yeah, I agree. And I did go into more detail on spaces. And look, I could tell you what happened at halftime. I mean, and I don't mind saying it. It doesn't matter. It's pretty much common knowledge. Thizz is going to join the show with us, guys. But hey, Thizz. Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Hey, Thizz.
Can you hear?
He's connecting his audio.
He's connecting right now. Biggest thing is that, he started an argument with Mahomes in the locker room. Mahomes snapped back. Then Andy kind of told them to chill out, and then he snapped at Andy. And then Andy said,
that's a quick way to get a one-way ticket out of here.
Yeah. And then Andy basically said, okay, call the plays. And it didn't work out real well, as everybody can see in that second half of that game. And it wasn't, you can't put it on the defense because they did everything they could. Everything they could. What's up, Thizz?
What up?
How you doing, man?
Man, I'm all right. I'm trying to get my earbuds to work, but these things ain't working right.
Well, let me know when you got them straight. We were just sitting here talking about how happy we are that the Rams won that game, especially with the way it was going down, with the missed calls and the crap that Cincy got away with again, like they have all year long. And also what's going on with the Chiefs and the changes that are going to be, hopefully being made, and their wish list right now of players. And we're just kind of going over what we can do next year. So Chris Jones put out a cool tweet. He said, we'll be here next year again, which he's right. I know that's really bothering him.
Yeah.
McCall Hardman, I don't know if you saw any of his tweets, but he's got me crying.
Him and Hunt, they both went after Eli Apple, but McCall finished it.
Yeah, McCall finished it up. I mean, it was classic. He had me crying. I mean, the stuff he was saying was hilarious. Just flashing his ring, and because Eli Apple was running his mouth, bro. I mean, running it big time, and it was good stuff. I mean, I think it was just amazing. But anyway, what'd you think of that game, man?
It was I don't know, man. It was good. Don't get me wrong. It was definitely good, but when the momentum swung, I ended up getting flashbacks of the Chiefs game.
I
saw this. I saw it, but the Rams were able to realize what they need to change. They had 2 guys go down.
Yeah.
They had OBJ.
Yeah.
And there's one more guy that I can't remember. Not Higbee. Is it Higbee? I don't remember.
He wasn't playing in the game.
No,
That's
there
what
was
it was.
somebody else that went down though. There was 2 that went down.
And
they was a tight end.
And yes, this is the tight end. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I think they saw the game slipping away. And then out of the clear blue sky, they remember they have Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
we have Cooper Kupp. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then they finally were able to clinch the game on Cooper Kupp. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they were able to let Aaron Donald win the whole thing
Yeah.
by himself. Like, dude, I heard something
nice.
before. I heard something before the show, before the Super Bowl, saying that if he wins, he just might retire.
Yeah.
If he absolutely, if it was me, I'd absolutely retire.
Oh yeah.
If I were him, you can't go out on no higher stage than this. He's already going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. What is it?
Oh, he's a Hall of Famer for sure.
6-time Defensive Player of the Year.
I think. I think it's close.
The only thing he didn't win or wasn't gonna win was MVP, just because it's really the MVQB. So
Yeah.
Most valuable QB. That's just the way it is. But dude was a wrecking ball, and what they did was they game planned specifically for him. And once the Rams realized what they wanted and they had Von Miller, they was like, look, we'll fake it to that side, and then Von Miller will wreck it on the other side. And boy, it was. I don't know if it was meant that way, if it was meant to be that way, but it played right into what they were looking like they were trying to do.
Yeah, I agree. I did hear again about Aaron Donald, and I also heard that maybe Sean McVay. He's considered. He said if he won, he might retire. And at 36 years old, I guess he wants to spend time. I guess he's getting married, and he wants to spend time with his family. And maybe, from what I heard, he may be burned out a little bit. I don't know if that's 100%. I just know that that's what I've heard on a couple of occasions now. And if he decides to retire, it's a good time for him to do it because he's got plenty of time to come back. He can come back at 36. So
if what's his face could do it, if Sean Payton can do it and come back, because I do think Sean Payton's coming back.
Yeah.
Not with the Saints, but somewhere. But if he can do it, then Sean McVay definitely can do it.
Yeah, Sean McVay, he probably take a year or two, and he's gonna come back.
Yeah.
What I heard
was he had a TV deal. Now.
Yeah, he did have. I think he's had a standing TV deal.
Yeah.
And since that first Super Bowl, I think he's had a standing TV deal because he was rumored to retire then.
Yeah. So
that's true.
I mean, that'd be pretty insane for him to retire at his age. But hey, you know what? Look, man, when you get burned out, you get burned out. I mean, I know that feeling, and if that's the case, it is. But this team, I think, what's going on, Caleb?
No, it's what Charles posted.
Oh God, I gotta.
Charles is going out to the Bengals fans. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's good times.
I do have a question for Thizz though. Thizz, do you think the way the Rams defense line played tonight, should the Chiefs get an defensive line like that? Should Beach try to have a group like that this off season?
Yeah.
Do you think it's possible they can do that?
See, man, how can I say this? Even though that whole team, or the defense for sure, underperformed against Joey B and all those guys, I just think what we saw was good game planning from the Bengals more than I saw the Chiefs being unsuccessful. They just had great game planning on their side. But what I will say is this: if you could find another defensive tackle to pair with Chris Jones, because Chris Jones is a force, no matter what we think, no matter how many sacks he's gotten in postseason, he still is top 5. Because I would have said top 3, but I would have to put it top 5 if we're going to be honest. He's still a top 5 D tackle. You get Melvin Ingram on one side. You figure out who the next side is going to be, whether it be Frank Clark or somebody else. It doesn't matter, but you got to make sure that person's stout. And then you put somebody that isn't that maybe not Chris Jones caliber, because there's not many out there at the defensive tackle position, but you got to find somebody that can help you stop the run.
Exactly. We need a backup or someone in that sense.
Yeah. So I mean, you could do it. It's just going to take an overhaul, and that means getting rid of guys that whose name resonates in Chiefs Kingdom, i.e., Colin Saunders, maybe even the dude from Missouri S&T.
You don't think they can keep him? I think he's shown he can do some stuff.
Turk Wharton. Yeah. You can, but the thing about it is, I mean, you can keep guys like him, and you should, because you need good backups.
Because he's been fairly consistent most of the season. I feel like when it comes to like the Knives of the world, the Jaron Reeds, it just wasn't it.
There's the name I'm looking for. Nadi's the name I'm looking for.
Yeah.
That's the one I'm looking for. And that's not to say he's a bad player. It's just to say that he is not as effective as we want him to be in this defense.
Correct. I think he's more set up for like a 3-4 defense. I really do.
I could get with that.
Yeah. Yep. I think he's more along the lines of a 3-4 defense. And, that happens to a lot of players. That's why we've passed on a lot of players, because, we're not a 3-4 defense. And I think,
Go ahead.
No, I just think that, a lot of times when you bring somebody in and you work them out, you can tell if they're going to be able to acclimate quickly.
True.
And it's just one of those situations to where, people think Veach misses on players. He don't miss. He dodges bullets a lot of times, but he don't miss.
That is true.
So, I don't know.
I mean, he missed the first year. He missed his first year, but that's to be expected.
Yeah. Well, who did he miss on?
He missed on 2 players.
I know it was.
On his very first pick of that year, he missed.
Breland Speaks.
Breland Speaks, yes.
Yeah, I mean that one was. Yeah, I would agree with you that, and that one was we just didn't have no room for him.
But that's okay though. Like, misses are going to happen. That's how it works.
He's just so minimal. He's a minimal guy.
There is nothing that you can say. Misses are going to work. I mean, misses are going to happen. That's just how it works. But the idea is just to get better. You know what I mean? Like,
and that's all he's done.
There are plenty of GM, just like there are plenty of wide receivers who don't start off great and end out in their career in the best possible way.
Yeah.
Just like John Elway, who I know his name is a curse word in Chiefs Kingdom, but let's be real. John Elway he had a good career, great career, but he didn't win a Super Bowl till the end of it.
Yeah.
Like the thing about it is, you still have time to evolve and get better, and hopefully you'll see some of these guys grow year after year. Like McCole, we were crapping on him a lot, and I get it that some of it's deserved, but he, as the season got better, as the season went forward, he got better and better and better, and Andy got better with his situational play calling as far as putting him in. And we saw him flourish, and we expect to see even more next year.
Yeah.
It's just the way it works.
And everybody has to remember, man, look, he's 23 years old. He's not like this, seasoned veteran. He's a 23-year-old player getting ready to be 24. But
don't get me wrong. I'm not telling you he's going to be what's his face up in Seattle. I'm not telling you he's going to be Deebo Samuel. I'm not telling he's going to be any of those. He's going to be McCole, and they're going to find the best route and best place for him. And that may not be WR2. It may be
Bot.
It could be anything.
Yeah.
So
I agree with you, Thizz, and I would kind of see it too. He's going to be probably that short yardage guy, catching screens, catching stuff in the flat. He's going to occasionally get the D-bomb, but I think that's good for him to start off for the next year or two. Keep building with that, but once we saw that, he finally did better over the top, what we saw in the last couple of weeks of the season. So I think there's a lot of stuff that can happen from the most part, but I think they're going to be in a good spot, in my opinion.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Without fail. With all the people that I've seen, ask about, I just had 3 DMs ask me if I heard about. Dude, my entire phone is blown up today, asking me about EB, and if I heard anything yet. No, I haven't. I'm sorry, everybody. I haven't heard anything yet. If you want to know my gut feeling, I don't think he's coming back. If he does come back, he's going to have to come back in a shared position, which he's not going to want to do. That's my opinion. In his
I'd be
mind,
fine with if he decides to do a shared position. Why not? Like if he's okay with it, that'd be great.
You know, his ego ain't gonna let that happen, dude. He ain't gonna sit on the bench and be a situational coach. He's not gonna do that.
I was actually surprised Nagy wanted to be co-offensive coordinators with anybody. I honestly was, but
I don't think he does.
Well, he did at one point.
Yeah,
he had.
That was because it was first year, though. I mean,
and that was also with Brad Childress.
Exactly,
that's true.
Is an accomplished offensive coordinator.
Exactly. I mean, not somebody that. And look, we can get back into this really quick, and then I'll get off the subject. But getting into that situation during the AFC Championship game, and this is why. And I've heard this numerous times, and we've mentioned this over the year, but it finally came out on Twitter, from national media. The only good interview he's had is with the Saints. He had one interview that lasted 4 minutes. 4 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what I'm getting at is that in that game, he started an argument with Mahomes in the locker room. Mahomes bit back. Then when he started arguing with Andy about the last play call, and that last play call was over Mahomes going for it instead of kicking the field goal. Now, look, Andy has made it very clear that if Mahomes sees something or if he feels like he wants to let Mahomes go for it, he's going to let him do it. And I don't blame him for letting the best quarterback in the league go for something, especially when you're trying to win a game against a team that beat you and shouldn't have beat you. And you're in the AFC Championship game. You go for every point you can.
Yeah, you got to.
You have to. I don't blame him for doing that at halftime. I'm not blaming Andy for that. Everybody else
could have been executed better, but now they know. Been.
Yeah, but I mean, you know what? Things happen. Plays work. Some do, some don't. But it is what it is. You've got to give him an opportunity to put as many points on the board as you can. Well, that didn't fly well with EB, and apparently he wanted to go for a field goal. Andy said, no, let Pat go for it. He sees something. I see something. And it just didn't work out. So anyway, I guess he started yelling and got into Andy a little bit. I don't know to the degree. From what I heard, it wasn't pretty. And that pissed off a lot of players. So not that they weren't already pissed off at him. Then it just made it worse. And then come the second half, everybody was the defense played their game. They did the best they could possibly do. The offense went flat. EB was calling plays. The plays were terrible. And Mahomes went with all of those plays. There was a few that he went off script on that actually worked.
Yep.
The very few. But for the majority of it, he had a 12 passer rating in the second half. And he didn't call one play in the second half. That was okay. I understand Andy doing what he did. I understand the players going flat because of this situation, because it's been going on all year long. Mm-hmm. So then you get to a point where it's like, well, F you, if you're going to do this, then we're going to do this. And when it all boils down to it, Mahomes has say in whether he wants EB back. From my understanding, he already said no. So I don't know how this is going to play out, but
it's interesting that it's got to play out, and it's going to play out. But the sooner they can figure it out, the better.
Yeah.
That way we can, if we're going to keep them, we keep them. We move forward, and you work with the parameters that you've already got.
Yeah.
Right. So like I guess the saying is, piss or get off the pot. And I'm hoping it's cool with everybody if I say that.
You're good.
No, you're fine, bro.
Figure it out, and live with your decision.
Yeah.
Now, if your decision bites you in the butt, it just did. That's all to it. But do it, get it over with, and if it causes problems, then you can always change your decision later and get rid of him. But I think. Man, I really hate that what's his face that the what's his face is in New York now. I really, really hate that.
What you talking about?
Who?
Oh, you're talking about
Kafka.
Kafka. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was another thing that that could have been easily rectified if that. I'm just going to put it this way: that was kind of orchestrated by, not by Andy. I'm going to say that he was put in a really bad position. And
When I tell you, I've been looking forward to hearing what Kafka has to offer because I just think that being Kafka working with him as a QB and know like you look at things differently when you play different positions, right?
Yeah.
And EB was a running back by trade. And that's fine. He's done a good job based on our performance in the Super Bowl and being in the Super Bowl and winning the Super Bowl, so forth, so on, and what have you. Right. And Kafka, being a guy that works with Andy, knows Andy, been with him for a long time.
Yep.
Yeah.
I want to say he's been with him longer than EB has been with him.
I think he has.
He played.
And the crazy part about it is when EB got hired, I actually was hoping Kafka would be the one to take his spot or take that offensive coordinator position. Yeah. But Andy's got bigger. Andy, far be it from me to tell Andy what to do with his team.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I have suggestions, but Andy's been doing this for a long, long time. And so if he thought EB was good, that's fine. And it led us to some championships. Maybe that train has run its course,
I think
and maybe,
not to interrupt you, but
no,
he got full reign too. And that's something he wasn't going to get here. New York gave him full control of the offense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, and I think that's how him and Daboll got connected. It was through Andy.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong on that.
No, I think you're right.
Yeah. They might have met each other, but I don't think they really knew each other until Andy picked up Daboll, and then they parted ways with him or what have you.
Yeah.
But Nagy, and I'm sorry if I'm moving the.
You're fine.
No, you keep going.
Nagy back in Kansas City would help. I think it would be a little bit different on this term because he'll be able to be more in tune with Andy. I think he'd also be able to have what he hasn't realized what he didn't get in Chicago. Okay. Because he wanted some things in Chicago. He wanted the quarterback position in Chicago. Thought he would get it with Andy Dalton, but it just didn't work out. And I'm not sure that he really wanted. I'm not sure that he really wanted the quarterback that they have now.
Risky?
No.
My bad. I forgot his name.
Justin Fields.
Phil. Yeah,
Fields.
Justin Fields. He's really good.
With the Trubisky thing, I think he almost took that out of desperation. Like, I don't know how well he did with all the other interviews he had, but I think he thought he saw something in Trubisky that he could salvage. And he did a good job at first. That first year was playoffs, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they had a couple of times where they made the playoffs, but they just couldn't do anything.
But he got to realize he didn't have Mahomes. He didn't have Alex Smith. This is Trubisky. He's not Alex Smith. Everybody compares everybody to Alex Smith. If they're not amazing or sucks, they compare him to Alex Smith.
Yeah.
Yep.
Trubisky wasn't that. Okay. Trubisky wasn't even that. He was a guy. In fact, he reminded me a lot of Sam Darnold. He can have arm. He can have arm. He can have accuracy. But if anything goes wrong, he sometimes can end up being rattled and end up not knowing what to do. So he'll run.
Yep.
And that's not what Nagy wants. He wants to run his offense like Andy Reid, but he's got to have Andy Reid material. Like the thing about Nagy, he took too much of Andy Reid's negatives.
In what way?
like Doug Peterson got a lot of Andy Reid in him, but
Mm-hmm.
he's got a lot of the positives. But not Doug Peterson.
Nagy.
Matt Nagy took bad clock management with him. He took some situational things, situational downs. He took
I
with
see what you're
him.
saying.
Like those bad decisions could be like detrimental to a team, and those haunted Andy Reid for early in his career and early in his
Exactly.
career with Kansas City.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. That's true.
especially clock
That's true, Thizz.
management. Especially clock management. That haunted him worse than anything.
Exactly. And he still has some of those, don't get me wrong. But it's just, a lot of those things can be hid by the talent of the quarterback.
Yeah.
He's actually we can't deny he's gotten better. It still plagues him, but he's gotten better with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Nagy got a lot of those bad qualities.
I can see that.
Yeah.
He can draw up a play like nobody's business. But when you don't have the talent at quarterback and the other places around the field on offense, then your plays, what good are they going to do?
What good are they? Yeah. I mean,
because you don't have the talent to pull them off.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
well, I mean, and I agree with you. You can take the good and the bad, and you got to separate them and realize what I don't think he wasn't ready to be a head coach, and I don't think he really had the aptitude to be able to separate the good and the bad. He just kind of rode with the bad side of what he learned.
Also with Nagy in Chicago, when you have a guy like Ryan Pace running the organization, he's the guy that hired you. But Ryan Pace, man, I'm sorry, I never could get jiggy with him and the way he does things, because he's the one chose Trubisky. He's the one drafted up sold draft picks to go up one or two spots to get Trubisky. Like, you could have had Mahomes. You could have had.
That is true.
You could have had Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
It could have been yours, but you the ones decided this. And the fact that they allowed him to choose another quarterback was stupid on the Chicago's part, but that's neither here nor there.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that guys goes to show you after, just like with this past season, there was an offer on the table for us to make a trade with Chicago for Allen Robinson, and the trust was already gone, and Nagy didn't have the juice to pull it off, even though for us it would have been a great trade. In the long run, it would have been a great trade for us, and it would have probably helped us throughout the season, and we probably would have went to the Super Bowl if that trade would have happened. But Nagy didn't have the juice to pull it off. Now, the question is if Nagy shows up, will Allen Robinson come here? I don't know I haven't heard what type of parting they had, or if Allen Robinson had bought into Nagy's philosophy. But what's that?
I mean, I'm all for Allen Robinson because I know his skill set. Like, I knew his skill set with the Jaguars. The issue I had was with his durability, because he got injured with the Jaguars, and that's the reason I didn't want the Chiefs to sign them in the first place before he went to Chicago. But I don't know how much Allen Robinson will want, but I'm assuming it will be a lot. I would assume it'd be a hefty number, and depending upon their cap number, isn't there somewhere else that we could go that would not minimize, but make the cap number a little bit lower, take pressure off of Tyreek to be our everything as far as receivers concerned,
and Kelsey for that matter.
I mean, I was thinking as far as the wide receiver position.
Yeah,
but like, I know for me, T.Y. Hilton, not enough for me. I think he's kind of washed at
Yeah,
this moment.
it's that ain't gonna happen with Ty.
No.
Yeah, I hate to say it, and maybe he isn't washed, but he's not nearly as dynamic as he once was. Um,
I think that's
Juju,
fair.
Juju. I mean, yeah, if the money's right, yeah, why not? But I think there's other places we can go besides Allen Robinson. I just don't want to end up paying $15 million and then having to extend Tyreek and then having to also extend Tyrann Mathieu. Of course, that'll give us some cap relief, but it's just a lot of moving parts there.
Well, here's the thing, man. You can, the way we structured these not we, the way Veach has structured these contracts, you can move money around in so many different ways for the next 7 years that it and extend players and keep who you got and just, if you want to sign, in my opinion, I think they should sign Tyron to a 3-year deal. And just be done with it. He's not asking for the moon. He's just wants to play in Kansas City. As far as, Tyreek, they're going to extend him. I have no doubt in my mind that they'll extend him, and that's going to save us cap money. You dump Clark, that saves 16 million, I think. There's a lot of players that you can move around, and really, I mean, you can put yourself in an $80 million cap position.
Yeah, it's possible.
But and Veach is the only one that I know of that could probably pull that off. I don't know another GM out there that can pull it off. I just don't. I mean, I know I toot that guy's horn a lot, but after all the years I've been around football, I've never seen a GM do what he's done and be able to keep a team together, the way he has. There was no controlling what went on this year. There was a couple of mistakes made, well, I can't say mistakes made, but maybe longevity and coaching. It's almost kind of like the Bob Sutton situation. You keep somebody 1 year too long, then you end up with problems. And it could be totally different set of problems. It could be a problem with, like when Bob Sutton, his last year here, not one defensive player wanted to play for him. It was that simple. They didn't want to play for him. The only one that really did was Marcus Peters because he allowed him to do whatever he wanted to do. But when it all boiled down to it, Justin Houston, everybody was just kind of done.
Yeah, they're like, I don't want him to be here.
Yeah.
He's making it miserable for everyone else, and that's kind of what we end up seeing.
Yeah, and when you get to that point that your coaches, your situational coaches, or even your offensive defensive coordinator are becoming a distraction for your players that are on the field and understand the game and that are very talented, it's really kind of time to move on. And that's that's Andy being loyal to a fault, especially with Bob Sutton.
And that's one thing I would say, JP. That's one thing, and I don't know if you agree with me with this, but that's one thing Andy has done year after year. He's too loyal. Should have got rid of Sutton probably after that terrible loss against the Colts. He should have got something. Yep. So he should have stepped in when it came to Spags. Like, hello, man, you can't be letting Sorensen play. I mean, it's documented that this is not going to work. But Andy decides to let him coach. I understand where he's coming from. But the Chiefs, if he would have done everything they were supposed to do, and I know hindsight's 2020, the Chiefs would have probably beat the Rams down in the Super Bowl. For just, in my opinion, the Chiefs could have beat the Rams. The way what we saw, they could have beat them. Yeah, they really could have. But it's either here or there. Hindsight's 2020 from that standpoint.
Yeah, and as far as going back with Sutton that last year, if anybody remembers, we went from dead last in defense, and then about week 5, week 6, we jumped up, and our defense did really well until about week 10, and then week 11 it started to go back downhill, and then ended up in a really bad situation.
Yep.
Well, I didn't say anything the first year. I did last year, and I'll say it again right now. There was a consultant, actually 2, that were brought in to help with the defense, and one of them was Spags. And the plan was that year was to bring Spags in for the following year as defensive coordinator, which is what happened. But there was 2 consultants, if you will, that were brought in to help during that time frame to see if they can get everybody on track, which they did. And then as soon as they were gone, it went right back to what
The old ways,
the old ways,
the same stuff. Yeah. And that's one thing I don't understand. Any continues to let that happen. I feel like you got to, as the head coach, you got to step in and put your foot in. I'm like, no, we're not going backwards, because the season could have been completely different. Go ahead, Thizz. What were you saying?
No, I was disagreeing with you completely.
Yeah. I mean,
I understand where Andy's coming from, but you got to put your foot down. Like when you look at the end of the day, a business owner is going to go, JP, you own businesses before. Yep. When you see something happen and that you don't like it, when you fix it and people go back to it, you're going to step in. And that's kind of why I feel like Clark Hunt needs to act a little bit more in the owner position and make sure, like, hey, this thing continues too. Because he lets the guys do their things, but he'll step in when it's warranted. He really stepped in when Marcus Peters was doing his thing, but he won't step in when Sorensen is being played. I feel like he should step in and kind of have a little consult in that standpoint, just from my understanding kind of how the game works. I feel like he owns a team. He should at least get some of a partial say or put something in someone's ear. Not saying you have to, but say this is probably what you want to have to do about that.
And I'm sure he has, and I know Veach has done the same thing. But remember, ultimately, when it all boils down to it, Andy has complete control of what coaches are hired and which
there's
coaches
nothing
aren't.
wrong with that, but I think he should have a little input by just saying, hey, I noticed this is, just think about it. Yeah. And I don't know, maybe he has done that, but to see Sorensen get all these chances this entire season is kind of like, come on now, bro. Come on now. This ain't it. This definitely isn't it.
My thing about Sorensen is the fact that we all know he's not a starter. We know that. We know he's not a guy that plays the majority of snaps. He shouldn't be.
Or he shouldn't be.
And that's just not how he can operate. I've said before, it's like his mind thinks, but his body's moving faster than his mind.
Yeah.
And he could be great in situational stuff, but being in 80% of the snaps is not a good idea. When I think about Sorensen and 40%, and they were using him perfect in 2019.
Yes.
I don't know what happened with the guys back there, but something happened.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've talked about it, and that was a coaching situation this year that caused issues, kind of like a high school stupid ass game, really, to be honest with you. And it put Thornhill and Baker in a position that they weren't being played. It was a stupid, ignorant way of doing things, and it got squashed. Finally, when Andy stepped up and said, "Look, I don't want to see this."
But it shouldn't have to get to that point.
No, it didn't.
Oh.
It didn't. It should have never got to that point, but it did. And we won't see that coach here again. And every team, I never thought, and I've said this a million times, and Thizz, you're right. I've said this forever about Sorensen. He reacts before he thinks. And there's a very fine line between the two, but you have to be able to read, think, react almost all simultaneously. And he can't do that. His body just launches into midair for nothing. There could be nobody there, and he's just throwing his body around. He's better in the middle in that double A gap situation where he's hidden behind the linebackers and pops out of nowhere, does his thing. But he is not a man coverage type of safety. He's not great on third down in any aspect, especially red zone third down. I don't know why, even like I said, towards, from the Cincinnati game forward, they reverted right back to what they did week 1 to week 7 or week 6. And it was kind of stupid. Our defense went from, ranked 31st all the way down to 10th, and then back up to 27th by the end of the season because of really 2 bad games.
Yeah.
So when you look at it from that perspective, I would like to see, to be honest with you, I would like to see an assistant DC. If you're going to bring in an offensive coordinator and somewhat have an assistant offensive coordinator.
Look, man, I would say a co-defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you who it should be. It should be Vic Fangio.
Hell yeah, Vic Fangio.
I'll take that.
Yeah, all day long. Vic Fangio.
I once he got fired from the Broncos, I was lobbying for him from day one. I didn't know if it was an idea, but hey, I was like, that should happen.
Yeah, he's
and I
damn
think
good.
Vic Fangio, I think he's still on the market.
He is. Nobody's picked him up. And I mean, I don't know what his mindset is about going somewhere. I'm sure he's probably going to pick and choose where he wants to go. And I don't know how well he would work with Spags. Spags doesn't seem like he has. Spags has a.
He doesn't not going to do it.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be that guy
happen.
that. Yeah, and I don't think it's an ego situation. I think it's more of a stuck in your ways situation more than anything. Because Spags doesn't seem like he has a huge ego. It just seems like he's very stuck in his ways. So I don't know, man. It's going to be an interesting offseason. I think it's going to be a very productive offseason for us. I think it's going to be a very, very productive offseason. And
is there a move you guys think the Chiefs should make? What is one move that you think is realistic that they should make?
Von Miller.
Okay.
I think they should go after Von Miller. I
like Von Miller, but and I know the thing about it is I don't know if we're going to be able to get him. And I'm going to tell you why. Okay. OBJ just got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody was saying it was up to Von Miller and OBJ because they can't sign them both. Now they don't have to sign them both.
That's true.
And so I think I would be willing to bet he stays in LA if they want to keep him because he was productive tonight.
Productive since he's been on the field.
Right.
Yeah, he's really good. He's got to the quarterback. I mean, that's something we haven't seen.
And so
really before.
So I don't know if they'll let him go. And I'm legitimately trying to figure out if I want to go with the defensive pass rush or do I want to go with coverage? Because I would like a ball hawk to get the ball back to the offense, but if I could find pass rush, it's hard to come by. Why not?
It is. And I think here's the thing with Von Miller. He has the choice to do what he wants to do. He's a free agent. When that game ended, he became a free agent. As of March 16th, he's a free agent. So he's absolutely ready to explore free agency. I know that he's wanted to play for the Chiefs for a very, very long time. He modeled his game and his life after DT, and he would probably like to end his career where DT started his career and ultimately ended it. But it would be great to have him here on a 1-2 year deal because he's still got so much life left in him and he's such a dominant player.
I think we could just use him mainly for the situational something because the way he was moving, hey, the Chiefs could get him unless he has some injury of them to bring him. I feel like they could bring someone like him, but they also have to bring a couple other guys too. So we need some pass rush, and I think Von Miller is a piece. But what are the other pieces that Chiefs can go out and get?
That's the question I have. Yeah. So would you bring in Von Miller and Melvin Ingram?
Yeah,
because that's two guys for one position. Possibly two different positions, but
that's two edge rushers, though.
Two edge rushers.
Yeah. You need. I think you still could get someone in the draft, maybe two people in the draft.
But they're not going to play 60% of the snaps, though.
Ingram can.
Yeah,
Ingram can, and Ingram will. Maybe.
I mean, Vaughn was playing over 60% like tonight. But I mean,
point.
I'd have to look at his stats, but I think since he's been with. Let me just put it this way: since he's been on the field with the Rams, I believe he's been over 60% the entire season.
If we can have him on some key second and third downs, mainly third downs, and we can show up and get some other guys that can help like this. Charles and I have been looking at this draft, man, and there's some alignment. There's some edge rushers that can play, man. There are some edge rushers.
I'm looking forward to seeing them in the what's the word I'm looking for in the combine because I want to see those 3-cone drills. I want to see the 40, and I just want to see those and I want to see the length of the arms and all that kind of stuff. Like that even with what they do in college, I want to see those stats because it helps on the things that you want to see. And I know Spags defensive scheme relies on pass rush. Okay. It relies on pass rush. If you look at what he's done before, and let me know if you don't agree with me. With the New York Giants, with the New Orleans Saints, he had pass rush. In fact, his best ranked defense had two pass rushers in OCU Manura and the guy that's on Good Morning America now.
What's his name? Not Michael.
Michael Strahan.
Yeah, Strahan. Yeah.
And then he also had Justin Tuck.
Yep.
So you dealing with all of that. It helps make your defensive backfield better, no matter how bad they are. I mean, because their defensive backfield wasn't super bad, but our defensive backfield is not super bad. It's just they had too much. Quarterbacks had a lot of time because there's certain. I mean, we didn't have a bunch of guys, and we need that pass rush to get a little bit better for guys like Sneed and Fenton and the Honey Badger. That we get a bunch of speed and power on that defensive line, those guys can shine.
Okay, so Von Miller averaged 66.6 snaps per game since he's been with the Rams, and his highest was 78. So
nice.
And that was week 18. That was during the regular season. I don't know about. Tonight it seemed like he was in.
He was, and that just showed in the biggest moments. If you can save him from the biggest moments, that's what you really, really need.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I'm like, that could really help this team. So Thizz, if they get someone like a Von Miller, they could re-sign an Ingram, get someone else in, get maybe a guy or two in the draft, especially the one Charles and I have been looking at. I really think it could help. I really do.
I'm going to throw a name out on wide receiver real quick for you guys.
Okay.
That I heard.
In the draft?
No. Free agency.
Okay.
Wish list guy. Michael Thomas.
Man,
I don't know. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, well, he's a wish list player right now. So
you throw here's my issue with Michael Thomas. And if I don't know if any of you read this or thought about this, but I looked it up. There is always at least one player that shines when they're with Drew Brees. Always. Mm-hmm. And then once they leave Drew Brees, they're not the same. And so it makes me wonder. So it makes me wonder, is it Drew Brees or is it the guys and their skills? Look, because if you think about it, Marcus Colston is the guy that I'm thinking about.
Yeah, he was pretty good. He was cold.
Jimmy Graham. Was he just over the hill when he left?
I feel like
Jimmy Graham was up there, man, when he left there.
I feel like though these receivers who leave, they're not being utilized.
That's the point.
The way Drew Brees and Sean Payne was utilizing them. A prime example was I forgot his name.
Like when Jimmy Graham went to Seattle, he wasn't used as a primary wide receiver. I agree with that.
Yeah.
But I would say that guy, Brandon Cooks. I
actually wanted the Chiefs to trade for Brandon Cooks.
I think like someone like him, he's good because we saw him with New England, but it's kind of like it's how you use him. That's the thing. So I mean, it's a lot of stuff there.
We've seen this time and time again, though,
right?
you guys.
Oh, sorry.
Nothing. I just said you've seen this time and time again where a player, does extremely well in one system, leaves, goes to another system, doesn't do so well, and then when he's utilized correctly, then he shines again. It happens over and over and over again in this league. It all depends on the coaching and how he's utilized. And I think Michael Thomas could probably be one of those guys that can step in, play well.
I just can't get it. But I can't get with that price tag, man.
I don't
it's
even know
a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
What it would be. I mean,
it's like 50. It's some ridiculous money. JP is ridiculous.
It's $22 million.
How much?
APY.
How much?
I think it's $22 million APY.
Oof.
I
That's
don't
a
know
big
how
chunk.
much of it's guaranteed. I don't know how much of a signing bonus it was, but if I'm not mistaken, it was 22 million APY.
Beach will have to work some craziness to get that to come through.
I'm not
Yeah.
even looking for it because I don't think this team needs it. And when you got a guy getting paid like that, they're gonna expect the ball. And
Yeah.
you bring a guy like that in, he's gonna want the ball, and he's not the number one. You got to get somebody that's willing to relegate themselves to a number two. Therefore, they might have number one skill, but they got to realize that they're not going to be the first option. It's just not going to happen. I.e., Sammy Watkins. Now, that's not to say I want Sammy back, but if Sammy decides to come back, it's that's up to Veach and them. But I just don't want us to get caught
I
up
don't
in the
think
trap.
Sammy would come back.
No, we don't need. We need a consistent guy that's not going to get hurt, that can be there when Mahomes needs him. And I think someone like maybe an Allen Robinson. I'm going to say this. I don't like this. Maybe a Juju Smith-Schuster who can sneak it out of the radar. I know I don't like the Juju, but JP starting to convince me. But I think they can find someone that could possibly help.
Why not Brandon Cooks?
Well, here's what's funny.
I don't know. I mean, that's possible, but
it's possible. But you're talking about money too.
Brandon Cooks is down there in Houston, and it's like I think his contract's up, and he's a tall guy. I don't know if he'd be willing to go be that tall guy and do go for jump balls because he's a little on the longer in the tooth, as it were. But I think we need a jump ball guy. I think we need a
Allen
guy
Robinson,
a possession receiver. We keep saying Allen Robinson, but that dude's probably going to command some money.
But it could be Josh Gordon, but Josh Gordon hasn't done anything for us.
Yeah, but man, it could be him. Again, he hasn't done anything because he didn't have an off season. I think you give that guy time and give him a chance to learn the system and not be under somebody's thumb. I'm sorry, but it is what it is. He was held back. You might have an opportunity to have somebody that's going to that can really shine. Holy shit. So, okay, let me give you Michael Thomas's numbers. And I'm kind of surprised he was even on a wish list at this point, but he was, because I was told that, but he signed a 5-year deal. $96 million. Signing bonus was $20 million, average salary 19, total guarantee 60, guarantee at signing 35. And he's a free agent in 2025, unrestricted. The reason I think he's on the wish list, or maybe when I say wish list, I mean somebody that they may be trying to target, and is because he wants out. And
he's gonna have to take a pay cut.
Well, and that's what he would have to do.
But
he's
also
making stupid money.
You would have to worry about his injury history at that point too, because he sat out a lot of last year because he was quote unquote injured.
Well, you know who else did too? Juju.
And that's why I don't really subscribe to the Juju factor either.
But they're still talking to him.
I'm okay with it. If that's the decision that they decide to make, that's going to be a I trust Veach situation.
Yeah, that's all it's going to be.
And so I'm not a huge fan of Juju. I think that he would work in this offense, but is there somebody else we can go get? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of players out there right now. I think there's 20. If I'm not mistaken, I'd have to look again, but I think there's 29 wide receivers on the free agency list right now.
Yeah, and I don't know why none of them are coming to mind for me, but I definitely think that there are other options. But considering that they wanted Juju, and if the stories are true that Andy was even recruiting, if that's true, then Veach, he's not going to let one get away if it's available, because if we look at it, the same thing happened with Tyrann Mathieu.
Yeah.
When he left Arizona, when he was out of Arizona, he went to Houston, but Veach wanted him too at that time, and he chose Houston, because Houston was paying more for 1 year, 1+1, I think.
Yeah, I think they got like a 1 year, $7 million deal. He basically got the max.
Yeah, it was a 1+1, I think.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Yeah.
And they decided to not give him the second year.
Yeah.
So, and then that's when Veach pounced. So if that is somebody that Veach really wants, he's gonna go get him, and we
Yeah.
know that. So that's why I keep bringing up Juju. I'm not hating on the guy; it is what it is. But I haven't really heard any other names. And if Andy Reid is jumping in there, if that story is true about him texting pictures of the Lombardi to him, then that's the guy that they
Who put
want.
that story out?
I don't know.
I
I
don't
saw
know.
it somewhere. It was
Juju,
proven to be true. I
Juju
think
was
Juju did say that actually. I
Juju
feel like
was
he
the
did.
one that said it on a podcast. I think he was on with Pat McAfee.
Oh, and he said Andy sent pictures of
Then a lot of Super Bowl pictures.
Yeah, he sent them pictures of the Lombardi and all that. Randomly texting him. I wouldn't say he was pestering him. Just trying to woo him to Kansas City.
Yeah. Now is this prior to him going back to Pittsburgh, or is this
No, this was during last year's free agency time frame.
Right.
Okay, all right. That's
so
what
he was trying to
get
get him to come with
Well, I mean, we could look at it like this. We're going to end up with another wide receiver. I got a feeling it's going to be out of free agency. And I think that we're probably going to end up seeing Josh Jackson on the field next year.
Okay.
I mean, Josh Gordon. Sorry.
Josh Jackson too.
Josh Jackson as well.
I wouldn't mind seeing what he's got to offer.
Yeah, and you also have to remember, we just talked about it. We've got Omar Bayless sitting in the wings on a futures deal. We got a lot of players that we signed to futures deals. Now, granted, you may get 3 out of that, but if Omar Bayless is one of them, and he turns out to be what Caleb and I both thought he was going to be and can be, that right there is huge. And you don't spend a ton of money, and you're putting yourself in a prime position with a hungry player that has attributes to become great. And I think he might be that guy. I think Josh is still that guy. I'm not going to get off that train until either they cut him completely or he fails next year.
Because you're not going to get off that train till you get thrown off that train. That's
right.
You're saying.
That's exactly it. I mean, they're going to have to throw me off at full speed, because I got, look, this is the most productive, personally productive season he's had in a long time. And I think that says volumes, one, to our staff, but it also, to Andy and Veach, but I also think it also says that he's got the capability to come out and play at a high level. Remember, he's still got 2 years of body left that he didn't use. He may be 30, but he's playing in a 28-year-old body. And, you see wide receivers out there all day long. Look at Deshaun Jackson. Okay. I mean, 36 years old, and he was out there running punts back. So, he could have another 4 or 5 years left in him. We don't know.
Yep.
But it would be nice to see it. I would love to see him, thrive and get his career back and be with us. But we got to get our defense straightened out.
That's the number one thing.
Defensive line, yeah.
We need a line like the Rams. We need a D line like the Rams to have. That's what we need.
And I know that's what Veach is going for. I was told that, a long time ago that that's what he was going to revamp next.
So the question is, to me, do they still building around Chris Jones, right?
They can do that. Chris Jones, there's nothing wrong with Chris Jones. I mean, he's a run stopper. He can get some sacks, but that's kind of his primarily roles to take up a space. Get another guy that can help run stop, and I think it could really help.
Yeah. And plus, he's a ball batting son of a bitch. The dude,
right?
He bats down there almost, probably 5 to 8 a year, if not more.
For me, it's not like I know I've said it on Twitter. I was like, the stagnation mantra needs to die, and I get that. But defensive line is so much more than sacks. Okay,
it is.
And I can admit that. I know that. Batted balls, hurries, pressures, all that all goes into it. So you got to build around Chris Jones, because there's nothing, in my opinion, aside from retirement or otherworldly injury that will stop Chris Jones from playing out his contract. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Oh, he's gonna
so,
be here for a while. I don't see him going nowhere else.
so if he's not going anywhere, you definitely should be building around him. And if you bring in a guy like Von Miller and keep Melvin Ingram, I say Gordon.
Yeah.
Sorry. If you bring a guy like that and you're able to supplement those two playmakers with younger talent and keep them going, i.e., Joshua Kando, and hopefully
That's
he
true.
when you're able to do that, put some like you got to find that talent right beside Chris Jones though, because having that up the middle is because they thought they were getting that this past year,
Yeah,
and
they thought they got it with Reed, and it didn't happen.
that just didn't. And so having a guy that could, because Reed wasn't going to be comparable to Chris Jones. Chris Jones is like a top 5
We thought he was
candidate.
gonna help take up some space and do all that stuff, but it just didn't happen.
No,
Like
he got pushed around more than anything else.
Right, but you got to find somebody who could match Chris Jones's intensity, and try. Not he might not have his skill because I want a younger guy there. Can't get two old guys all the time, and you don't want your line to be so filled up with tenured veterans.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would say if you could find try to find a force in the middle on in the draft or somebody else, you got to go do it.
I'm telling you, Thizz, there are some really good guys. This is fortunate for the Chiefs. There's some we're loaded at those positions we need help at.
Yeah, the draft is loaded with defense this year. It's insane. Defensive line, there's a lot of secondary guys out there that are beasts. A lot of linebackers that are beasts. It's a great draft for defense this year. There's a lot of good wide receivers in the draft. There's not a plethora of. I mean, there's a few running backs and there's not very many quarterbacks, but running backs again. You can find somebody, or you can bring somebody back which I did hear may be an option, which I'm kind of hoping it is. But he helped us win a Super Bowl, and I would love to see him back in the mix. But like Caleb said, you got to have somebody that's going to be that bruiser that just busts through the line and can
gotta
keep on
get
going.
a Von Miller.
Yeah. Von Miller.
You gotta get the next Von Miller. You gotta get the next. I mean, honestly, Aaron Donald. To be honest, someone that can just take over.
If Aaron Donald doesn't retire, man, can you imagine putting him on this line?
That'd be nice, but that's just never gonna happen. That'd be nice.
Well, hey, he's made all of his money, so why not come back and get another ring?
You never know. You never know.
How old is he? Does anybody know?
He has to be 28. Let me look it up.
Yeah, I thought he was 28 myself.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm looking right now.
Yeah, I thought he was 28, but I'm not 100%.
He's 30.
Is he really 30 years old?
30, yep.
Well, I mean, it might be, maybe he's just done. He played tonight like he wasn't, but maybe mentally he's just done. I know he wants to spend time with his family. He said that a few times. So let's just see what happens. I mean, I think we're going to see a lot of retirements this year that maybe be unexpected. And then we may see, I'm hoping we don't see somebody come back, but I've heard twice now that somebody wants to come back and play for the 49ers. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think the 49ers will do that to their number 1 draft pick, but I mean, I heard Brady wants to come back and play for the 49ers.
I mean, well, you're not going to say no to Brady.
Well,
that's just not going to happen. Even if you do have the number 1 draft pick, like, no, you're not going to say no to Brady. Same way I don't believe that the Green Bay Packers are going to say no to Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I don't know. We'll have to see how it plays out, but I'm glad, before we wrap this up, I'm glad this happened. I'm actually glad the Rams won this game. It made me happy after watching tonight and throughout the year. Look, Cincinnati's kind of a dirty team. They got away with way too much this season. And I think some of that was orchestrated. Some of it may not have been, but regardless, they lost, and they lost for a reason. Karma's a bitch. So and it always catches up to you.
Sorry about that. Mm-hmm.
So it was nice to see, and it was good to see Aaron Donald get his ring. Von Miller get a ring. Matthew Stafford, man, he deserved it after his career. Just a great overall win. And they fought back and they did what they had to do with no animosity. And that's what we need, is no animosity. We get to that point, we're going to be back to who we were 2 years ago. So, and even last year for that matter. But we got to get rid of the animosity and bring in some players that can help. And we're going to do that. So
that's true.
The whole thing, trust in Veach is there. So and there's a reason for it, because he's done us right so far. So we'll see. Hopefully we'll have an announcement about EB fairly soon. If I hear something, I'll let you know. But at this point, I haven't heard a thing today about him.
By tomorrow, we'll hear something for sure.
There was definitely a meeting. So
look, man, we know Veach, when he's able to do something and do it quickly, he's going to. And so I don't expect this year to be any different.
No. He's just going to add pieces to the puzzle to make us get us right back where we were last year, the year before, and even for this year, right back into that AFC Championship game. So, anyway, with that being said, that's all I got. Has anybody got anything else before we hang up?
No, I think we're good. Thizz, you got anything?
Nothing that I